Hi, I'm Rodney Johnson, co-editor of Survive and Prosper as well as Boom and Bust. Airbnb has been in the news a lot lately. The company is an internet-based platform where people who want to spend money to stay in a room or home can meet up with people who want to offer that. There used to be a word for this. It was called renting, but not anymore. According to Airbnb, it's called sharing, even though the parties involved are typically strangers and one person provides accommodations while the other one provides a payment. The company wants to avoid all the regulations and liabilities that come with the formal business, and that would dissuade people from being involved, so they don't call it renting, they call it sharing. The emergence of Airbnb is an example of how our lives can be transformed by technology, which is created or moved forward to lower costs and increase production. That's what Airbnb has done, although they won't admit it. By creating a website where I can list my son's bedroom that he's not using while he's away at college for rent, Airbnb has given me the ability to use an asset that otherwise would sit idle. Instead of just vacuuming and dusting the room, but otherwise keeping the door shut, I can turn that unused square footage into cold, hard cash. Now that's a pretty cool idea as long as I'm good with strangers traipsing through my home and maybe bumping into them in the kitchen in the morning. Or I could use Airbnb to rent out the entire house. Now the website's not just a cool innovation, it's an example of how technology is being used to free up assets, the unused space, which increases supply, drives down cost. That's deflationary. It gives the users the ability to spend their money that they saved on traditional accommodations on other things, which moves up their standard of living. Sounds like everyone wins, but of course that's not the case. Under this arrangement, I might be able to pocket some cash while visitors might save some money compared to traditional hotels, but the hotels lose out. These businesses have a lot of fixed costs, they have a lot of fees, and they can't compete with Airbnb's offers, so they're losing some clientele. Now this is a normal part of the evolutionary cycle, because like the buggy whip went out of business when automobiles were introduced, this group does deserve some sympathy. They have to meet standards, cleanliness, safety, access, lots of other things. They have to be registered, city, states, federal. They have to keep their licenses in order, and it's not cheap. And there's that small issue of taxes. Lodging facilities pay a lot of taxes. They pay business, they pay sales. They also pay hotel tax, occupancy tax, crazy things, because people tack these sort of taxes on to hotels and rental cars because the people who use them don't typically vote in local elections. We're taxing out-of-towners. Now this makes it an easy target. But if we start using Airbnb and the taxes aren't being raised, well, then the taxes go down and the programs they finance will suffer. That's what brings the issue of Airbnb into sharp focus. As noted above, so far, Airbnb has tried to argue that people offering space, bedrooms or homes, are not conducting business. In fact, the CEO of Airbnb claimed that while there are laws that apply to businesses and laws that apply to people, there aren't any laws that apply to those offering space on Airbnb because they're a new category, micro-entrepreneurs. Right. There's a name for that. It's called sole proprietorships, and it's been around a really long time. Now, the reason he doesn't want to name the service in the traditional sense is because it would bring on all this stuff, and it would drive people out of using or offering the service. Would I rent my home for a week for some cash? Maybe. Would I put up with the hassle of licensing, inspection, and tax filings to do it? Probably not. The CEO of Uber, which is a smartphone app that allows people to offer rides for cash, as in like a taxi, is having the same fight in the US and around Europe. The service is clearly a car for hire, but because it involves individuals with their own private cars, Uber is trying to argue that the same rules don't apply, just as Airbnb claims that no laws exist for what they're doing. It's nonsense. The laws do exist for the exact lines of business. Airbnb and Uber just don't want to live by the laws. Now, to speed along the evolution of technology, regulatory authorities and taxing bodies should get in front of the change. They shouldn't wait until it blows up. There could be a threshold below which no filings or compliance is required. Maybe they could have simplified forms. There'd still be winners and losers, but at least the path to compliance would be clear. As this develops, the people offering their homes for rent or cars for hire are playing a pretty dangerous game of financial musical chairs. When the music stops, and it will stop, regulatory authorities and taxing entities will look at who's been making money, who's been using it, and they'll look around and say, well, what taxes did you pay and what fees did you pay? When the answer is zero, they'll start looking for people to pay up.